Hello, everybody. It is Monday, July the 16th. And today I've got a story to tell you that's kind of weird. It's weird because it's old, but you haven't heard it. It's weird because it's old. It's extremely significant, but you haven't heard it. And it's weird because it's coming from a source, not me, a source, a couple of sources. True Pundit is one, the main one, and then another one called Riddick. Now, these stories were found by one of our group. I will not use her name because this goes out to any and everybody. But this is about Peter Strzok and his wife. Her name, oddly, is Melissa Hodgman. Melissa Hodgman, Hodgman. Part of what's wrong with Washington today, you see in this case. There are a lot of employees in Washington in high-level positions by men and women that have different names, but they're married. Why? So that they don't have the obvious conflict where it doesn't look like incest is as prevalent as it is. But guys, I'm telling you, Washington, D.C., our federal government is just loaded, what I call loaded, with wives, husbands of other employees, fathers, daughters, sons, etc. But this case is that weird, significant, but you haven't heard it. Why? Melissa Hodges works for the SEC in the Enforcement Division. And as I understand it, she was like the number 2 person in the Enforcement Division of the SEC, Securities Exchange Commission. Her job in enforcement is to be basically a liaison from the SEC when they find wrongdoing, white-collar wrongdoing in the financial community. She would be the one, or second in line to be the one, to turn that information over to the FBI for prosecution and further investigation. Well, here goes the story. Around the 1st of October in 2016, we were all told about Weiner, the Congressman Weiner that was sending texts and stuff to these young girls. When they found out about that, to the person that's on here that got me the story, if I say any of this out of line, please jump in and correct me. And y'all don't hold me to this date line. You can find that out by going to the True Pundit yourselves. But when they found out about Weiner, it became obvious at about the same time that the FBI was in the middle of starting to investigate Hillary. Well, when Hillary's being investigated, remember who's investigating her in the beginning, who brought on the investigation. It was McCabe and Peter Strzok. So they would have known what they were holding with Hillary, if anything. And then all of a sudden, because the Weiner thing, the Weiner computer comes and they find 650,000 emails and stuff on his computer, some of which contained classified material from Hillary, that it became a big deal. all of a sudden, Barack Hussein Obama, on or around the 14th of October, within hours of finding out about Hillary Weiner, the investigation with his computer and all that, within hours, President Obama himself gives Peter Strzok's wife, Melissa Hodgman, a promotion. And she is now the assistant director of the SEC over enforcement. Now, what's tricky about this? Well, if you were looking at Peter Strzok's texts and emails that we've all heard about, there was even a hearing. One of his lines that he said was they had an insurance policy. An insurance policy to stop Trump. Now, I'm paraphrasing, that's not exactly the word, but that's the point. They had an insurance policy to stop Trump. Well, everybody seems, I think, at this point to believe that that was in the abstract, that they were going to come up with an insurance policy. Well, now, because of this information coming out about his wife a year ago, that's when it was written, a year ago, thereabouts, I think we now know what that insurance policy was that Peter Strzok was telling his girlfriend. The insurance policy was he had control of the SEC enforcement person. So if there was anything there bad about Hillary, guess who could stop it from being transferred to the FBI? Melissa Hodgman. If they used the SEC to go looking into Donald Trump's past, and if they could find anything like, his campaign manager, Manafort, and some of his business dealings going back to 2000 and whenever, guess who had that information that could be turned over to the FBI? Melissa Hodgman. Guys, this story that has been there on True Pundit and Riddick, and even I think the Wall Street Journal wrote about it back a year ago, whenever, has been laying there. And nobody has brought it to the surface. When in fact and indeed it may be the key to the Peter Strzok insurance policy that they had to make sure Hillary won, number one, or if she didn't win, that they could control Trump. Guys, this is giant stuff. Giant stuff. Melissa Hodges could go and check into offshore accounts. She could do anything she wanted. And the key is she was the person that would determine from the SEC that which could be turned over to the FBI. Or if there was something bad about somebody they liked, she could kill it and not turn it over to the FBI. But y'all see the significance here? This is the insurance policy he was trying to tell Lisa Page about. They had Trump every which way from Sunday. If he did anything financially kinky through his companies, or his people in his campaign, that was the perfect group to investigate it. And she had the power to go and investigate accounts offshore, anywhere in the world, to track down information about somebody they wanted to get, if they chose to get somebody. probably more important, well, first off, let me say this. If you had any doubts as to President Trump and the cleanliness of his business dealings, certainly in other countries, I think you see now that Melissa Hodgman, Peter Strzok's wife, would be in a perfect position to check out everything the man's ever done. And if there were anything there, I assure you, we would have already heard about it. And he would probably be being prosecuted for it right now. So if there's any doubt about him being clean, I'm very comfortable now, even more comfortable now, that that man is clean. The question is, where can we take this? I am taking it where it needs to go, to you. But before I do that, before I answer that, let me say this. This is probably the key element to Hillary. There is no doubt that there were trick moves financially with the Clinton Foundation, the way they received money, the way they handled the money, what they spent money on, and what they did not spend money on. And the SEC had it all. But because of Melissa Hodgman, it didn't go nowhere. Didn't go anywhere. And you see, what's neat about them being married is two things. Number one, if they were not husband and wife, they would have to have official meetings, even unofficial meetings, but they'd still have to meet and discuss something that's nefarious that they were trying or going to do. But you see, the neat thing about being husband and wife is they could talk at home and work out any scheme they want to work out, assumingly. They could do anything they want to do. Work it out at home. Nobody'd be the wiser. There'd be no tracking it, no proof of it, no emails about it. Didn't exist. They did it at home, number one. Number two, Bill Clinton, I asked him over and over and over again, Bill, why are you still married? Excuse my language. Why are you still married to that bitch? And he would always tell me, we will never get a divorce. Because as long as we're married, we cannot be forced to testify against each other. And that's why, even all these years later, that's why after the Monica Lewinsky, Paula Jones, all the other women stuff, the humiliation Hillary went through, why are they still married? They don't live together. The reason is what Bill told me years ago. They can't be forced to testify against each other. Now, imagine Melissa Hodgman and Peter Strzok. What the perfect conspiratorial pair. You know, they could make all of these plans, assuming that's what they did. This is my opinion, guys, my opinion. The plot's too perfect. It fits too exact. But it's still my opinion yet this far. But they could do whatever they wanted to do without fear of ever getting caught, because neither one of them could be forced to testify against the other. There's no amount of pressure that could be placed on them. You know, I understand, although I don't know it to be a fact yet, but I understand that Lisa Page, now that she realizes she's the one being thrown under the bus, may be cooperating with the oversight committee she's testifying in front of. Some of the wording coming out of it has been, as I understand, that she's told them things they did not know. But you see, that's Lisa Page. And they're not married. So she can be forced to testify, but not Melissa Hodgman. Not Melissa Hodgman. And now back to the question I was asked. Where do I want you, the people hearing me now, to take this? Well, I took it to you. I'm taking it to you. It's our job. Yours and mine. You got to find ways to take a story that's over a year old. Should have already been predominant in all of this investigation and stuff into Peter Strzok. It should be everywhere. It should be paramount. It should be front and center. I mean, can you imagine the oversight joint committees had they have been bringing this stuff up in that hearing? But they didn't. They didn't. You know, I hear Craig Gowdy getting all huff and puff and tough. Give him credit, he got tough. But why didn't he bring this up? Why didn't anybody bring this up? Am I the only one that believes this is significant? Surely to God, not. Surely not. We've got to spread the word. Now, I will caution you today, this Monday, the 16th of July, the talk of the town and the talk of the media for today and the next couple of days is going to all be about the big meeting with Trump and Putin. I'm going to give you, as if you needed it, but I'm going to give it to you anyway, my opinion about the meeting with Trump and Putin. As you should know by now, of course, Chucky Schumer and the Democrats are all over. You know, how he sided with Russia and Putin over the American people and us and this country. Even Republicans like Lindsey Graham, Corker from Tennessee, or wherever he's from, they're all about how Trump messed up and stood and sided with Putin instead of us. You know, guys, I understand political theater. I do. Been a part of it, seems like all my life. I understand. But come on. In this particular case, what could he have done? Do these people that are saying that he didn't do anything about this hacking into our election in 2016? You know, Trump said, did you do it? Putin said he didn't. Trump said, which is true, he has not seen. I saw him say it. He said, you know, bring him the server. Show him the proof. Now, I know 17, you know, of our security agencies said it's true. Well, guys, let me tell you, our government has said so much crap that they say is true that turned out not to be true. I'm kind of in the tank with Trump on this one. Just show him proof before everybody goes gaga. Somebody show proof that this did happen. That's all he's asking. He's not saying it didn't. He's just not in a position until he sees proof himself that it did. And then I was driving, I heard Rush Limbaugh. Limbaugh told me something that I nearly fell out of the car over. Limbaugh told a story that these Russians, 12 Russians, apparently hired an American attorney, which is the way things are done. And this attorney goes to Mueller basically to accept the indictments. All right? The guys in Russia, they're not coming to get the indictments, so they have an attorney pick them up for them. He accepts the indictments, and then he says, now give us the evidence. They couldn't give him any evidence. Whoa, wait a minute. See, this is where this stuff just gets over the top. You're telling me that Mueller could indict 12 Russians with specificity for crimes to which they've laid out the charges. They went before apparently a judge to get them approved for the indictment. And then when the defendant comes to accept the indictment and then ask for the evidence to prepare their defense, and they say they can't give it to him. Now, I don't know if they were saying they can't give it to him because they didn't have it, or they didn't have it ready, or you know what, maybe they didn't have it at all, because maybe this has all been a conspiracy. I don't know. I do know that you talk about an odd one. That's odd. But it happened. It happened. And then I guess we should accept that Donald Trump should have gone to Putin and said, look, either you admit to hacking our election, or guess what? We're going to have a nuclear war. Huh? Is that what's... Where is this bag that Trump supposedly has with him that he could use on Putin? To all the liberal media, to all the mainstream media, to all the Democrats, and to all of the treasonous Republicans jumping down his throat. Do you want war with Russia? Do you want a nuclear war? If you don't, tell me what else a president, not just Trump, any president could do in that situation, y'all. Tell me. Because I truly don't know. We were not in the meeting. We weren't. None of the people that are voicing all these opinions, they weren't in the meeting. Trump was. Putin was. Obviously, they talked about it, so you can't say Trump's a coward because even Putin admitted they talked about it. And again, what Donald Trump said to his base, if any of the people listening to me now are part of Donald Trump's base, forgive me, remember when he was running, he said, you know, we're better off talking, and he thought he could build a relationship with Russia. He's not saying the good guys. I'm not saying Russia is good. I'm not saying Putin's good. I know Putin is KGB, so he's always KGB. I know what he is. But guys, Russia exists. And guys, let me tell you, Russia's got a stockpile equal to ours in some cases now because of uranium-1, maybe more than us. But Russia has a stockpile of nuclear weapons. So it would seem to me that any logical person would believe that President Trump did the right thing at this point, at this stage, a first meeting, try to set up a channel so that they can talk. Now, once you establish a relationship where Putin and Trump can talk, then and only then do you have a snowball's chance in hell of being able to deal with specificity on issues. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. Bizarre. I mean, guys, we have taken polarization to a new art level, a new art form level. Just as they have done by weaponizing law our legal system using it as a weapon against anybody they don't like or don't want in a particular office. They've used polarization as a weapon. Trump didn't even have to go talk to Putin. Any one of us, if we were asked by a reporter, and Trump had not yet gone and talked to Putin, anyone listening to me right now, I assure you, could probably tell a reporter that asked that, well, when he gets through the meeting, Democrats are going to say it was a failure, and they're going to beat him up over something. We could have, and they did. So guys, let's just sum it up this way. The meeting with Putin went well. We didn't get in a nuclear war. It went well because they're talking. And as is Donald Trump's way of doing deals, he gets in, he meets the opposition and develops dialogue and develops a relationship, and then usually works through and gets what he wants. That happened just like that. Or at least that was the first step. I can understand that one. But the other part of today's program, I cannot understand. The biggest story that's not told is Peter Strzok's wife. Her job, how she got the promotion. I mean, is it normal? Is it normal for the SEC when somebody is an assistant division head? Is it normal for the president to appoint an assistant division head to the head of the division? And we're not talking about, I don't think, we're not talking about the director of the SEC. That job probably is appointed, but this one, I don't think that's normal for a president to do that. But if he did it, why? And if you look at the timeline, call it what you will, but it happened within hours of when sparks were going to fly over Hillary and the Clinton Foundation and the probability of criminal financial things. You got it? And the SEC, the group that would have the ability to do it and find it, the person that is the liaison between the SEC Enforcement Division and the FBI, turns out to be the lead investigator of the investigation into Hillary and the foundation, turns out to be his wife. And then they leave a paper trail where he's telling his girlfriend, now you know what, don't worry about anything because we got an insurance policy. And I believe that insurance policy he was telling Lisa Page about was his wife. I do indeed. With that, I'll talk again to you soon. Thank you.